particularly a track called Language. That's one of my all-time favorite Drake tracks. Even though Birdman's on it too, but it's it's not even a it's not even the best beat. It's created by Wanda and Noah Shabaab, but it's not even that amazing. But it just, I don't know. There's something weird about it that makes me want to listen to it over and over again. It's the kind of very quick 808 attack and release. It's I wouldn't necessarily call it like a trap type beat. It isn't. It's weird. It's not very verse chorus verse either, but there's very little instrumentation with it. Sometimes when you're creating minimalist beats, it's actually pretty hard to create something that actually has nothing in it, but has such a hook on you as well. And I find with that song, The Language by Drake, it just captures me. I don't know why, it just does. And it's a very minimalist beat, but I really like it. Another kind of influence in this beat is a lot of the tracks that Kid Ink raps over as well. A lot of the darker ones that he raps on, like Badass and stuff like that. Those kind of tracks really have a really darkness to them, and I really like the way the movements of the 808s in them. And we're just gonna do our standard verse chorus and just see what kind of instruments I've used. As you can see, it's very minimalist compared to the last track. If you listen to the last one that I did, it was a kind of a Drake and Future type beat called Pulse. That was very heavy in the instrumentation, but this is very minimalist, but it still has that hook that I really love. Like it's kind of like it's almost like a busy 8-bar loop for the entire track, but it just keeps me listening. I don't know why. So here's the verse. Here's what I'll play a little section of it though. Okay, I'll pause it there. There's no need to listen to the rest of it. You kind of get the gist of it. So we'll just start off from the intro, and that is these selected instruments here. And it's just a pinabal. It's a massive synth. A second, we'll just pull it down a little bit so you can see the EQ, and we'll just listen to that on its own. Now the intro is pretty minimalist, but you can hear I'm just kind of trying to create that atmosphere. Very little instrumentation, not really much kind of melodies or anything like that. It's really a track for a rapper slash singer to really kind of throw some bars out there. That's what I really aim to get with that. And I just like the vibe in the track, Language. And this is what exactly I was trying to kind of use my influence from that track. Like if I didn't tell you that I got the idea from Language, you probably wouldn't have heard it. But I can kind of hear it now when I tell you that it sounds like the Language. So that's just simple kind of melody, very simple melody. 1 second now, just building the atmosphere, like I said before. And we'll just play that with that. Okay, it's just a synth and massive. Take a look at the EQ. What have I taken off? I've rolled anything off by 200 and dipped a little bit at 500. That's where the singer will kind of take up that mid range, and boosted a little at 5K just to let that kind of glistening peak to come through. And you can see that there's a little bit of a pad sound in the background. This is called the moment, that moment. I tend to use this pad sound a lot. I like this preset. It just gives me what I'm actually looking for. And it's just a drone in the background playing one chord. It's playing the C chord. One note, not really a chord actually. And I kind of layered it up with different octets. So it's playing C1, C2, C3. And it's really dominating that kind of section in the mix. I also have a little bit of overdrive on there as well, just to kind of boost it up a little bit. I'll just take a look at the EQ. Okay, I cut a little bit at the 200 hertz, boosted a little 1K, and cut anything below 200 hertz and 10K. So I just get that mid-range section. And it's just a drone section to kind of build the atmosphere, like I said before. And second now, and we'll see the next one is called Super Silent, and it's also in massive. And we can see that I've cut everything below 200. And that's really low. It's kind of like an alien pad sound with a gradual increase and a gradual decrease. It's oscillating. It's bust out to some reverbs as well. And we'll listen to all three of them together. What these two pad sounds kind of do as well is they build the tension in the track as well. So it's you can kind of hear these kind of sounds in movies and stuff like that. You can kind of hear where something is going to happen, or something is building up to something happening and it actually doesn't happen. That's what movies and TV shows kind of tend to do. They kind of use these drone sounds with very minimal movement in it, just to kind of build the tension. It's like holding the tension in the track. Okay, and the next section plays off this melody here. It's called Prepared Piano. I really like this one. This is another massive synth. We'll just take a look at the EQ. Second, we'll just bring that back a little bit. And this is a piano sound. I might go in depth in this little section here. So it's cut anything below 200 hertz, boosted at 500, and dipped at 2K, and a little bit of a gradual boost at 10K. And we'll just kind of double that up so we can see what I actually did with the instrumentation without unfreezing the audio. So Prepared Piano, and we'll just kind of mute that. And so it's playing the same melody as the Pia Bell. It's playing the exact same thing again, no difference. And so they kind of it's just a variation in the sound. But if we just take off my effects chains, or my effects that I have on it, just to see what it sounds like without it. And you can hear it's a bit pinchy, it's kind of piercing. The overdrive is kind of acting like my compressor, and the spread is kind of giving it some width at the low end, or the high end, sorry, my mistake. It's still a bit pinchy in the high end, so we can see what I did here. We can see that I cut a little bit at that 200 hertz, just to soften it a little bit. It's a very subtle little difference, and it's very reverb heavy on that as well with those instruments, just to spread it out in the mix. And that's just a simple introduction to that bit there. And next, the sub bass comes in. So this sub bass is played in what I would call the pre-chorus and the outro of the chorus again, and in the intro as well. And it's basically just a drone sub, like again, following that movement of the pad sounds, which kind of build the tension again, because during the verses we're going to have that kind of pull push section with the 808s, like in Drake's track The Language, where it's these kind of very quick 808 kicks and very fast movement within the 808s. We'll just listen to what we have here with this drone 808. And we'll listen to it with the pad sounds. And we'll just take a look at that in depth a little bit, because there's not much to go through in this song, because it's just the 808 section that comes in a second that kind of really dominates the whole mix. But I'll just duplicate that just to see what we kind of did with it. There's no need to duplicate that. Command Z just to undo all that, and just drag that little section down, and we'll just solo that one. And you can see that there's an aggressive EQ on this. Now, this is not what I usually typically do on a mix. I very rarely would push the 808 or the sub up that high, but I just felt like in certain instruments and certain songs where I want that 808 to just, or that sub bass to really dominate the whole spectrum of the sound, I kind of just break the rules a little bit. And basically I wanted to fill the void. So once it's like building a tension in the track, and I wanted to fill the void like a pad sound would do, and I wanted to be ready for the 808 to come in as well, because this 808 is so aggressive and kind of it kind of comes in and out. Having this really low kind of takes the energy out of the track if this is not really high and really boosted. I just felt like the original sound without it. Like if I just take off the EQ, we'll just listen to it. It's just really low. I could have compressed it a bit more, but in this it was just fine, just boosting it, because there's not much in the mix anyway. So I wouldn't normally do this. Normally what I would do would be to route it out to a bus, write it out to a bus like I've done with my parallel compression, and kind of duplicate that and then kind of compress it and mix it in with the dry signal. That's the more professional way to do it. If I have to be honest, this is kind of a lazy way, but the fact, because you usually shouldn't dramatically kind of boost the EQ, but certain rules can apply when there's very little to mix in this. There's not really else competing with that little sub in that section anyway, and I've cut most of my subs out of these sounds here, so it's okay. And plus, no sub sounds play during any of these anyway, so they're only dominating that sub mix section in the track anyway. So there is two sounds here down in the bottom. There's the Wario lead. We'll just listen to that. This is a really clean sound. I really like this one. Years ago, I remember when will.i.am had a song out called, with the Black Eyed Peas called Boom Boom Boom, and there was a weird synth in that, and I tried forever to make it, and I kind of came up with my own kind of similar sounds, but this was the kind of sound that I was looking for. If you listen to, there's a weird interlude in the Boom 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 song, and this is the sound that sounds so like it. and that's a really clean sound. It's called Wario Lead, and it's in massive. I've cut everything below 200 hertz, boosted a little bit of 500 to 2K, and cut a little bit of 10K. So it's not really dramatic. There's a little bit of overdrive on there to act as my compressor, and a little bit of the reverbs that I've busted out to. And underneath that is the fall to Immer Meyer, and that's a massive synth again. Take a look at the EQ, is similar to the Wario lead, nothing drastic there. We'll just take a look at the MIDI of that so we have an idea of what I'm doing there. And when you play each individual instrument like this, it seems very boring and kind of bland, and it doesn't make any sense. It's only when you glue all the particles together that you really get the blended sounds that play off each other. Plus they're either layering each other to sound like a thicker sound, or to complement each other, or they're playing off each other in different sections. So I'll just play all of these together now, all this little section together. Okay, you get the drift of that intro. Now we get into the verse, we have our kicks. I'll just give you a refresher of the verse, what it sounds like again. So this is where the movement of the 808 comes in a second now. So the kick doesn't really change, nor does the 808. The hi-hats and all that will kind of create that extra instrumentation in the song. 1 second now. So we'll just see what kind of kick I have. See what kind of MIDI I did for it. And that's just a standard kick, and it has a simple kind of pattern there. You only get to really understand what the kick is doing when you stick the snare in. It's very hard to understand. Like, I usually play these out on the MIDI keyboard and kind of tweak them around to my liking after that, because it's very hard to hear what you should be playing when you have a melody already going and you just kind of type them in. It just doesn't make any sense. So you kind of have to tinker with it a little bit and just kind of move things around until you get something a little bit more solid. We'll take a look at my EQ for the snare. And the snare kind of has this boosted section at 500 and 2850, and that kind of just makes it pop in the mix. Plus there's a nice section of reverb in that as well. That's no reverb, it's with reverb, so it needs that reverb. Where was I next? Next, there's these claps that come in that kind of just add kind of a tension in it as well. 1 second, we'll just look at all the MIDI on that. So there's a reverb clap there at the end that just adds kind of a tension at the end of every kind of bar, just to kind of it kind of adds to the atmosphere as well. You don't really, you hear it very aggressive there in that section with just the just the instrument or just the drums, you don't really hear it that aggressively in the mix with all the other instruments. It's just kind of like a background noise that kind of gives a signal to the rap artist we're changing into a different section. The hi-hats here come in and out as well. The hi-hats are a bit weird, so we'll kind of just play those little hi-hats. And that hi-hat comes in and out, and it'll make more sense when you kind of hear all the track together. So it'll play here, it'll be removed, and it'll come back in and play for another 2 sections. It'll be removed for the pre-chorus and back in for the hook, and then it just kind of I just played with the mix. And then there's hats, different hats here as well. We'll just come down to these little hats and see what they do. And they're kind of an aggressive kind of MIDI kind of roll of the hi-hats. So we'll just listen to them again. And they kind of play after the snare in most of them. 1 second now, I'll just bring in the snare and the clap again. Oh, the snare is not playing there. It's a clap that kind of takes over. So the snare is playing aggressively here, and then it's removed for this section, and the hat takes over the kind of, that keeps it on the beat. And we'll listen to the open hats as well, since we're here right now. And the open hats play at the very start of it. And they kind of play 2 little notes off each other as well here as well. Just kind of add another effect. So it's like, it's kind of like an opening and closing at the same time as well. And you can hear it all gelling together. It makes no sense when it's soloed, but when you gel all the instruments together, you get that really nice sound. Now this comes to the stabbing kind of 808 kind of sounds. I'll show you these now because they're kind of the crux of what it is. The whole beat is kind of revolves around this kind of section. Sorry, no, just kind of move this back. And we'll kind of take a look at the 808 and all together. Okay, there's 2 sections to this 808 track here now. You can see that I play the first 2 notes and then there's a pause, then it does a bit of a climb, comes back down, pause again, up again, and down again. Then the next time I have additional notes in different sections to kind of make it faster that matches with the 808s. You'll hear it stronger in a second. I'll just play that again for you. Listen to all the drums together now so you can kind of get an idea of what it all sounds like. Play this now with the instrumentation added in. kind of get the idea of where it's going with like that language sound. There is strategic kind of little sections here in the pre-chorus that I just pull all the instruments back just so you can hear where everything kind of just jumps into this kind of hook section where a lot of the instruments play. Everything kind of seems to play in this little section. And we'll just play this a little bit here. And you get the whole drift of what the whole beat is, but it's a weird beat that really sounds interesting even though there's very little in it, and it just has that kind of, it's one that you can put on and repeat. I think a rap artist would love to rap over this because it has that weird movement, plus in that little section there the 808s just go crazy, or the instrumentation, well, the drums and stuff go crazy, and it just kind of, there's all the hi-hats are playing against each other. So it's pretty cool, and I really like this beat even though it's not as difficult or anything like that compared to the other beat that I showed you in the last section. This was Dan with the Corporate Thief Beats. If you like these beat making videos, please give us a thumbs up, plus share it with someone that you think that may benefit from it. Any kind of resources that I use, there'll always be a corresponding blog post in the description. Head over to the Corporate Thief Beats and you'll get any resources that I use, and plus tips on music marketing, other beat making tutorials, etc. This is Dan, and I'll check you out in the next video, guys. Take care. Bye.